first we're going to take the contralateral leg, so the leg opposite to the side that we're stretching, and we want to put it on an elevated surface. Then from here, we want to go into retroversion of pelvis. We're going to keep the chin tucked in, flat lumbar spine, flat thoracic, crown and head up, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. Then what we want to do. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to be your own therapist by demonstrating the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for posture correction, and more specifically, I'm going to be teaching you how to correct an elevated pelvis. Before I get on with the exercises, I want to do a quick recap of what exactly an elevated pelvis is and why exactly you should care. An elevated pelvis, as the name implies, is when your pelvis is elevated on one side. And when this happens, what's going to happen is you're going to create a length tension discrepancy between the pelvic elevators and the pelvic depressors. And if you don't address it, it can lead to things like low back pain, hip pain, knee pain, ankle pain, and foot pain. So you would want to address it immediately. And one of the ways in which we could address it would be to do some strengthening exercises for the muscles that are responsible for elevation of the pelvis, specifically on the depressed side. We did that a couple days ago. I'm going to include a link right up over here to the top 5 strengthening exercises for posture correction to correct an elevated pelvis. And then once you've done those, a terrific complement to those exercises would be to do some myofascial stretching exercises for the muscles that are responsible for elevation of the pelvis, specifically on the elevated side. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing for you guys today. So without further ado, here are the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for posture correction to correct an elevated pelvis. The first myofascial stretching exercise for posture correction to correct an elevated pelvis is going to be for the Quadratus lumborum muscle, and ideally you would want to do this up against the wall so you could use your hand for support, but I'm going to be doing it right over here against the glute ham raise. What we want to do is first we're going to take the contralateral leg, so the leg opposite to the side that we're stretching, and we want to put it on an elevated surface. Then from here we want to go into retroversion of pelvis. We're going to keep the chin tucked in, flat lumbar spine, flat thoracic, crown and head up, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. Then what we want to do is go into ipsilateral rotation of the cervical spine. We're going to do that by rotating toward the side that we're stretching. And then with the leg, the ipsilateral leg, we want to go into flexion of the femur. So we're going to bring the leg forward. And then we want to go into extension of the knee. At the ankle, we're going into pseudo inversion. So we want to go into dorsiflexion of ankle by pointing the toes toward our head, and inversion of ankle by pointing the sole of our foot in toward the midline. And then we also want to go into medial rotation. So we're going to turn that leg in, and we want to go into adduction. So we're going to bring the leg across. Then from here, with the ipsilateral hand, we're going to go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulder, flex shoulder to level coronal plane, so bicep in line with the ear. We're going down with the heel, up with the palm, looking toward the arm, and this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the Quadratus lumborum muscle. The second myofascial stretching exercise for posture correction to correct an elevated pelvis is going to be for the longissimus muscle, and specifically we're going to be targeting the caudal fibers, meaning the fibers closer to the lumbar spine and the pelvis. Of all the stretches, this is the only one that's going to be performed bilaterally, and for it we're going to be in a seated position. We want to flex the knees to 90 degrees and plant the feet firmly on the floor. Then from here we want to go into maximum retroversion of pelvis, maximum flexion of the spine, and we want to flex the cervical spine as well. We're going to keep the chin tucked in, crown and head up, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension with the arms, maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulders. We're going to project the palms downward between our thighs, and we're pressing away with our palms. And then at the lumbar spine, we want to project the L3 vertebra posteriorly. So imagine that your umbilicus, you're trying to push it behind you. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the longissimus muscle, specifically the caudal fibers. Next, the third myofascial stretching exercise for posture correction to correct an elevated pelvis is going to be for the Iliocostalis muscle. And once again, we're targeting the caudal fibers, meaning the fibers closer to the lumbar spine and the pelvis. For it, the setup position is going to be very similar. We're in a seated position. We got the knees flexed to 90 degrees. And then from here, we got maximum retroversion of pelvis, maximum flexion of the spine, and we're going to flex the cervical spine as well. Then what we want to do is go into a contralateral flexion of the lumbar spine. So we're going to bend away from the side that we're stretching, ipsilateral rotation of the lumbar spine. So we're going to rotate toward the side that we're stretching. Then with the ipsilateral arm, we want to go ahead and cross the midline. So we're going to go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulder, then project the palm downward on a diagonal. And then with the contralateral arm, we're going to project it forward. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the iliocostalis muscle, specifically the caudal fibers. Next, the fourth myofascial stretching exercise for posture correction to correct an elevated pelvis is going to be for the transversospinalis group. And for this one, we're going to go ahead and get into a half kneeling position. So as though you're in the bottom position of a lunge. Whatever knee is on the floor, that is going to be the side of the transversospinalis group that we are stretching. Then from here, what we want to do is go into maximum retroversion of the pelvis. We're going to keep the chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. With the contralateral hand, what we want to do is place the hand right over the ear, and that is to put the pectoral fascia under tension. Then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to go into flexion of the trunk. We're going to go into contralateral flexion now by bending away from the side that we're stretching. Ipsilateral rotation by rotating toward the side that we're stretching. And with the ipsilateral hand, what we want to do is go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulder, and then we're going to project the palm downward on a diagonal. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the transversospinalis group. And then last, the fifth and final myofascial stretching exercise for posture correction to correct an elevated pelvis is going to be for the latissimus dorsi muscle. And for this one, I'm going to be taking you through 3 different variations. For each of them, we're going to be in a half kneeling position, so just the way we are right now, as though you're in the bottom position of a lunge. What we want to do, if we want to do the general latissimus dorsi stretch, we're going to go into lateral flexion of the spine. So we're going to bend and go into contralateral flexion by bending away from the side that we're stretching. Imagine you're trying to project your ribs out toward the side. Then from here, what we want to do is with the contralateral hand, so the hand opposite to the side that we're stretching, we're going to straighten out the arm and rest it on the inner thigh. Then with the chin tucked in, crown head up, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. With the ipsilateral arm, we're going to go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulders, and project the palm forward. And this is the general latissimus dorsi stretch. Then, if we want to target the distal fibers, what we're going to do is we're going to rest our hand on our thigh, and everything else is the same. We got contralateral flexion of the spine, so we're projecting the rib cage out, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown head up, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. Then, for this one, with the ipsilateral arm, maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulder, and then we're going to project the palm downward on a diagonal, and we're going to press away, and this is for the distal fibers. And then last, if we want to target the proximal fibers, the only thing that's going to change is the arm position. So what we want to do for this one, once again, we're in a half kneeling position. We got retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown head up, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. We want to go into contralateral flexion of the spine by bending away from the side that we're stretching, ipsilateral rotation by rotating toward the side that we're stretching, and then with the arm, we want to go into maximum abduction, so abduction, by bringing the arm up overhead, and then with the contralateral hand, we're going to reach up and over across and pull the elbow across, and this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the latissimus dorsi muscle, specifically the proximal fibers. And there you have it. Those were the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for posture correction to correct an elevated pelvis. If you have an elevated pelvis, or if you have issues with regard to low back pain, hip pain, knee pain, ankle pain, or foot pain, go ahead and give those exercises a try. And if you have given them a try, go ahead and drop your comments down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys thought of the exercises. In terms of the sets and duration, what you would want to do is 3 sets of a 30-second hold for every single one of the stretches. And specifically, you would want to do 3 sets of 30 seconds on the side where the pelvis is going to be elevated. And then on the side where it's depressed, you don't want to neglect it entirely. Depending on the severity of the elevation, we would do anywhere from 1 to 2 sets. So if you have a very, very severe elevation of the pelvis, for every 1 set on the side that is depressed, we would go ahead and do 3 sets on the side that is elevated. And then if we have a very, very mild elevation of the pelvis, we would do 2 sets on the depressed side for every 3 sets on the elevated side. And one thing worth noting again is we would want to do these every single day, because once again, we're trying to elicit a postural change. So if we only do these stretches once a week or once a month, you're not going to be able to see the true benefit of the stretches. So 3 sets of 30 seconds on the elevated side and 1 to 2 on the depressed side every single day. And then in a few days, I'm going to be taking you through a third scenario, because if you've done the stretches and the strengthening exercises and you're still not seeing the benefits you would like to see, a third problem is that the nerves that are responsible for sending the signal to the muscles that are responsible for elevation of the pelvis, they may not be functioning optimally, and that could be due to nerve dysfunction. So what we could do to address the nerve dysfunction would be to do some ELDOA exercises at the nerve roots of the nerves that are responsible for sending the signal to the muscles that are responsible for pelvic elevation and depression. And we're going to be going over those in a few days on Monday. So this Monday at 2 o'clock p.m., I'm going to be taking you through the top 5 ELDOA exercises for posture correction to correct an elevated pelvis. So be out on the lookout for that this Monday at 2 o'clock p.m. If you have any questions at all with regard to the programming or any of the exercises that you've seen over the last few days, go ahead and drop your questions down in the comment section so I can help you guys out. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I'm going to be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.